In a small, bustling village surrounded by thick palms and vast, lush forests lived two brothers, Buite and Swarmi. Growing up, they were inseparable, sharing dreams, hunting trips, and the secrets of their youth. But as they grew, life carved different paths for each, paths that would divide them more deeply than either had ever expected. Swarmi, the elder brother, was tall, with an impressive build and a commanding presence. He was clever and resourceful, known in the village for his strategic mind and his cunning ability to turn even the smallest opportunity to his advantage. Swarmi was fortunate. He married into a wealthy family, gaining influence, lands, and several servants who tended to his every need. His home was often filled with the aroma of elaborate feasts, and he wore fine cloth adorned with intricate patterns, which was rare in the village. He enjoyed the admiration of his neighbors and often threw grand gatherings, where laughter and drums echoed through the night. Buite, however, was not so lucky. Though just as strong and clever, he was quieter, humbler, and carried a gentleness that made him easy to overlook. With no family wealth and no wife to cook or care for him, Buite lived modestly, gathering food each day and sharing his small meals with anyone who would sit with him. Palm kernels, a staple in the village, were his only reliable food source, and he grew skilled at finding and cracking them. When he returned to the village each day, dusty and tired from his labor, his presence was mostly ignored by the villagers, who saw him as someone without much to offer. Swarmi, comfortable in his wealth and station, grew increasingly dismissive of Buite. He saw Buite's life as a series of poor decisions, judging him as lazy for not achieving similar wealth. Swarmi's servants were under strict orders not to offer Buite any food or drink. There was no place for his brother at their table. To Swarmi, Buite's very presence was a reminder of the humble beginnings he had worked so hard to transcend. Over time, Buite grew accustomed to his solitude. It wasn't just the distance his brother created, it was the feeling that his life was not respected or acknowledged by anyone in the village. The moments of joy he once found in family and community faded away. It was only the quiet beauty of the forest, where he would sit and listen to the birds and the wind through the trees, that offered him any sense of belonging. Yet the pain of rejection grew heavier each day. One morning, as he cracked the last of his palm kernels by the riverbank, Buite came to a decision. He could no longer endure the cold treatment and the sting of isolation within his own village. The memories of sharing meals with Swarmi as a boy, laughing, and dreaming of the future they would build together, felt like another life, one he could barely recognize. And so, without a word to anyone, Buite turned his back on the village and began his journey into the forest. Buite walked deeper into the wilderness, farther than he had ever dared to go. Each step took him further from the life he had known, and he began to feel a strange peace settling over him. The cries of the birds, the rustling of the leaves, and the occasional monkey chattering overhead seemed to welcome him into the unknown. When he finally reached a deep valley, lush with greenery and dotted with towering palm trees, Buite knew he had found his new home. In this valley, hidden from the world, Buite set to work. His hands were raw from chopping down palm fronds and weaving them into a small shelter, just high enough to cover him as he slept. He built a low roof supported by sticks and fashioned a mat to lie on from long grasses he had gathered. It was a humble shelter, no more than a foot off the ground, but it was his. Here, surrounded by the sounds of nature, he felt for the first time in his life that he was free. Days turned into weeks, and as Buite settled into his new life, his pain and resentment began to fade. He foraged for food, finding roots, berries, and the occasional small game to add variety to his meals. Every evening, he would sit outside his hut, watching the sun dip below the horizon, and feel a sense of calm that he had never known before. The village and his brother felt like distant memories, part of a world he had left behind. Yet, even in this peace, a deep loneliness remained. Buite's heart still longed for companionship, for a family to call his own. Each night, as he lay on his mat listening to the distant calls of nocturnal creatures, he would drift off to sleep, imagining what it would be like to share his life with someone. He didn't dare hope that such dreams could come true, he only allowed himself the comfort of imagining it. One night, as he lay there, the faint light of the stars casting shadows across his small shelter, Buite felt himself drifting into a strange, vivid dream. In his vision, he saw a beautiful girl standing before him. Her skin was radiant, her hair long and flowing, and her eyes held a kindness that stirred something deep within him. She called to him in a voice as soft as the breeze, and he rose to follow her. They walked together through the dense jungle, her footsteps light as she guided him through the shadows. Eventually, they arrived at the edge of a wide river, its surface shimmering in the moonlight. At the riverbank, she turned to him and spoke gently. "Tap the ground 3 times, she said, her voice like a melody. Buite did as she instructed, and to his amazement, a canoe appeared on the water's edge, as if it had been summoned from the depths of the river itself. The girl gestured for him to tap the canoe, and when he did, a pair of paddles emerged, waiting to be used. "Go and fish," she said, "and bring me what you catch. But remember, cut the heads of the fish before you return, for I cannot bear to see them." Her eyes were pleading, her tone insistent. Buite nodded, unable to speak, and turned toward the river, his heart racing with anticipation. He cast his line and soon felt a strong tug, pulling up a beautiful fish from the depths. Remembering the girl's words, he carefully cut the head off before placing it in the canoe. With his catch in hand, he made his way back through the jungle, eager to see her again. As he approached the place where he had last seen her, he felt a surge of excitement, wondering if his dream would end here. But to his surprise, he found the girl waiting for him, her face serene and welcoming. She took the fish from him and began to prepare it, her hands moving with grace and skill. Buite watched in awe as she cooked the fish, her presence filling the small clearing with warmth and light. When Buite awoke the next morning, he lay still, the memory of the dream lingering in his mind. It had felt so real, so vivid, that he could almost smell the aroma of the fish she had cooked.